If you ever felt buried under a mountain of tasks, struggling to meet deadlines while your to-do list keeps growing, you are not alone. Imagine this. You are deep in the zone, finally making progress, and bam, an email, a message, or another urgent request coming flying in, snapping you out of focus. Ever wonder why software developers, who are usually skilled and organized, end up feeling so overwhelmed? What exactly pushes developers over the edge? Could it be more than just a workload? In a recent study, researchers explored this overwhelming feeling among developers, revealing not just the uncommon struggles but 7 unique types of overwhelm. From technical challenges to constant interruptions, and even the rare cases when overwhelming has positive connotations. Each type impacts developers in ways we rarely consider. Interestingly, they discovered that some developers even use overwhelm to boost productivity, turning it into fuel for focus and motivation. I find this topic very interesting, so I delved into the latest research, talked to real developers who live these experiences daily, and decided to make this video. This isn't just another stress in tech theory. It's about understanding the patterns, the psychology, and the strategies that could make the difference. And by the end of this video, you will understand not only why developers get overwhelmed, but also how some manage to turn this into a productivity superpower. So let's dive in. Let me ask you, what do you think that overwhelm is such a hot topic in the software industry? Well, overwhelm is a major focus in the software industry because developers are expensive assets, and their productivity directly impacts a company's bottom line. When developers feel overwhelmed, their efficiency drops, delaying projects and costing the company a huge amount of money. High turnover due to burnout adds even more costs in recruitment and training. While errors from stressed developers can harm productivity, quality, and customer satisfaction. To protect their investments, tech companies prioritize keeping developers happy and productive, which is essential for retaining talent and maximizing returns on their costly workforce. But then, why are highly skilled developers overwhelmed if the industry tends to treat them so well? There are many reasons. Software developers often feel overwhelmed because of the complex, high-pressure nature of their work. They handle difficult technical problems, if they are lucky. They also deal with large code bases and are expected to keep up with the new technologies. And the pressure to be in constant learning while delivering results with sometimes very tight deadlines make it hard to stay focused and confident in such a volatile job market. I have experienced all of this myself across my career. Plus, developers often face high expectations from high-quality code and fast solutions, which can lead to stress and burnout. And sometimes, to make things worse, some work environments don't always help. Developers deal with frequent interruptions and meetings, making it hard to focus on get in the flow. And the very nature of the job demands staying alone for long hours. Also, the always-on culture blurs the lines between work and personal time, creating even more stress. Misalignment with project management adds frustration as timelines often clash with the unpredictable nature of coding. And this mix of pressures and lack of support fuels the feeling of being overwhelmed. In a recent study, a team of researchers conducted a qualitative psychological study to explore the experiences of feeling overwhelmed in the realm of software development. They interviewed practitioners to dissect the feeling of overwhelm. And their findings revealed developers face 7 different types of overwhelm. Each one has unique challenges. And the authors also believe that software developers possess particular skills that may enable them to navigate through the storms of overwhelm more effectively. So let's break down each of them one by one. First, communication overwhelm. It happens when developers face critical social situations. This quite often triggers anxiety about the possibility of saying the wrong thing in a meeting. For example, senior developers often give updates to multiple clients while managing their own technical tasks. Every conversation takes focus, and each interruption drains energy and piles up stress. I have seen developers juggling 3 projects while training a new hire and organizing meetings, all at the same time. They have to constantly choose between helping others or focusing on their own job. And of course, under these conditions, it is not surprising that productivity plummets. Modern work culture prizes communication, but too many communication channels can turn into a chaotic flow of drones and focus. So maybe it's time to redefine being a team player and protecting each other's focus as much as contributing new ideas. I think that this obsession with constant communication may be killing creativity in the industry. It is almost as if every call chips away at a developer focus, making the work nearly impossible. The second type of overwhelm is disturbance overwhelm. It's the ultimate productivity killer. It is the feeling of being constantly interrupted by noise, meetings, or even random task reassignments. You are focused 1 second and the next a message pings asking you to quickly look at something. Imagine working on a complex algorithm and suddenly getting calls, chats, or emails, all demanding your attention. It is like trying to solve a Rubik cube while people keep piling more cubes into your hands. Every interruption not only breaks concentration, but can lead to mistakes. And in software development, mistakes are not just costly, they can take days to fix. If you are a developer or manage one, you know productivity is not just about time management. It is about protecting mental bandwidth from constant interruptions. Several studies have shown that blood pressure rises whenever a coworker walks over with a quick question. What is worse, these interruptions reset our mental focus, forcing us to spend extra time just getting back on track. My take on this one is that maybe open plan offices were designed by someone who has never needed to focus in his entire life. We are practically setting developers up for failure by throwing them into distraction-filled workplaces. So let's now talk about organizational overwhelm. And this is where developers are overwhelmed by the necessity to prioritize and organize their workloads. Developers often work on multiple projects at once, each with different timelines, dependencies, and stakeholders. When priorities shift frequently, it can feel impossible to keep track. For example, many times I have found myself unsure where to even start because the tasks were poorly documented or they were constantly changing. I have to spend hours just figuring out the next logical step instead of actually doing the thing. Constantly reorganizing things wastes time and depletes focus. When developers feel overwhelmed, they are more likely to make mistakes, which only creates more work in the long run. I personally believe that lack of organization isn't just a symptom of poor management. It's a productivity vacuum. In an ideal world, management would support developers by giving them a clear roadmap. However, in reality, it is like asking a marathoner to run without telling them the finish line. But even if you know where the finish line is, that doesn't mean that it is clear what it is the best path to get there. Which led us to the next time of overwhelm, which is variety overwhelm. And this happens when developers are tasked with too many different types of work at once. A developer might be debugging, testing, writing, documentation, and mentoring all at the same time. It is exhausting and also fragments their focus because each task requires a different mindset, and switching between them leaves developers mentally drained. Sometimes we see some managers who seem to believe multitasking is a superpower, but it is really just a fast track to burnout. There is a reason why so many studies show that multitasking diminishes productivity, often without us even being aware of it. But, of course, variety overwhelm doesn't just affect developers. If you are in any field that values deep thinking, every extra small task cuts into the mental energy needed for high-level work. And talking about high-level work, type number 5 of overwhelm is technical overwhelm. It arises when a developer faces a particularly complex or challenging task. In my experience, most developers enjoy technical challenges. So the issue isn't just about solving a difficult problem. It is about feeling crushed by the scale of the technical challenge involved. You know that feeling when you open a legacy code base with no tests, no CI/CD pipeline, with an old version of the language and outdated dependencies. It is one of the most common developers' nightmares because each fix or improvement reveals new bugs in the code base, and it seems like a never-ending cycle. I think the industry often ignores the human capacity limits here, leading developers into a constant chase to learn the latest tools and frameworks. Also, the obsession with always being up to date creates a fragmented mental landscape where developers feel they are perpetually playing the catch-up game. It is an endless cycle that drains focus, increases cognitive load, and ironically decreases productivity, essentially turning software engineering into a race that is hard to win or even enjoy. So to mitigate this, I think organizations should prioritize core competencies, allowing room for deep expertise in fewer tools that align with long-term projects. Developers, on the other hand, might benefit from time-boxing learning periods, dedicating a specific limited time to skill building without the pressure of constant context switching. Also, cultivating a team culture that values collaboration over individual heroes can help distribute the mental load and make technology adoption less of an isolated sprint. But all of this will fail if developers just don't have enough time to do anything else. Temporal overwhelm is that feeling when we see the clock ticking and there is just no way to meet the deadline. Tight schedules and unrealistic timeframes are common in tech, where speed of delivering is often prioritized over code quality. And ironically, rushing often leads to technical debt, which quickly delays things even further. Unrealistic deadlines and constant time pressures eventually take a toll on health, leading to perpetual anxiety. Sometimes I wonder if time is money is just an excuse to squeeze out every last drop of productivity, regardless of the cost to well-being. We should all start valuing sustainable workloads much more than short-term economics rewards. because, money comes and goes, but health is a one-time asset we can get back very easily once it is lost. And this is quite interesting, in certain situations, a bit of overwhelm or pressure in the right doses could have actually positive effects. Not all overwhelm is negative. Some developers report experience positive overwhelm as well. They say that a challenging workload usually pushes them to perform better. And this doesn't mean they are stress-free. It is more of, I need this type of pressure to work my best mindset. Stress and overwhelm go hand in hand. Stress often accompanies feelings of overwhelm, but it can either hinder or help productivity depending on the context. When stress spirals out of control, it becomes destructive, but in small doses, it can actually drive focus. I have experienced this feeling myself, especially during my PhD studies. But my concern regarding this is that positive overwhelm is like lightning in a bottle. It is rare, unpredictable, and hard to sustain. Yet, the industry sometimes holds this up as the ideal state, pushing developers to maintain that level of intensity daily, which is neither realistic nor healthy. So positive overwhelm can be beneficial sometimes, but it shouldn't be the baseline expectation. Sustainable productivity is about balance, not constant adrenaline hits. So what's the takeaway? Well, I would say overwhelm is more than just an occasional inconvenience. It is a constant reality in software development that affects productivity, mental health, and job satisfaction. By understanding these different phases, we can start to implement changes that not only help developers but also improve overall project success. And dealing with overwhelm isn't just about individual effort. It is about creating an environment that supports healthy productivity, from noise-free environment to clear task prioritization. Implementing small changes like this can dramatically improve productivity and reduce stress. But if we continue to ignore the real impact of overwhelm, we risk pushing some of the best talent out of the industry. On the contrary, if we learn to manage and even embrace it, we open the door to sustainable productivity and innovation. I suggest you to reflect on your own work routines. Start by identifying one type of overwhelm that is affecting you most and make a plan to manage it. Whether that is blocking our time, reducing notifications, or setting clear boundaries with your teams. Now, I have a final question for you. What if this constant overwhelm situation isn't just a side effect of the characteristic of the software developer's job? Could it actually be a signal of something deeper going wrong in the industry? Let me know what you think in the comments. See you in the next one. Bye.